Hi, Philip. It's
Hello,
nice to connect with you, Philip. And
nice to see you again.
this is an opportunity again that we've been seeing in the virtual space that globally it's one platform for people to connect from various different countries. Now, 3D Graphy has done our bit in the recent conference, the 3D Graphy Medical 2020 Expo, and we saw you participate and you shared some great insights on 3D printing in medical devices. Uh, I'm sure you're doing a great work back in your country, in Ecuador, and you are doing some innovative solutions. So 3D Graphy Medical Awards is a platform that we wanted to ensure that end users like doctors and surgeons and service providers uh, and innovators and researchers can be recognized for the good work that they're doing. So it's beyond, India. We are actually taking this globally to also recognize experts from various different countries. So let me congratulate you, Philip, for the 3D Graphy Medical Awards 2020 for 3D printing innovation in bilateral PAO in hip surgery. So that's very innovative. So even our team was looking at the, the, the level of innovation that can be achieved using 3D printing. And we're very happy to
Yes.
announce you and confer this award in your favor. Let me know from you, Philip, what is the first interaction that you had when it comes to 3D printing? How did 3D printing happen to you? What was your first?
Well, yes, thanks for the introduction. I'm very honored to receive this award. Yes, I had a great time. The presentation in 3D Graphy. It was a wonderful time to also see what other people are doing in the field, and to connect with other people who are, we share similar interests. So my first introduction to 3D printing was on my senior year in college. We had to have a way to fast prototype some pieces for some medical devices that we were testing. So that was the first time I was introduced to 3D printing. I didn't understand it quite well. I just knew how it worked. I thought it was fantastic. But then that was my introduction to 3D printing. But to medical 3D printing was after I started working in the orthopedic surgery department at the University of Pittsburgh. We were doing some, all sorts of 3D imaging and 3D kinematic analysis. And uh, close to when I was leaving, one of my colleagues he gave me this 3D printed model of my knee because I was also a subject in one of the studies that we did. So they had a CT scan of my bones, specifically my knee bones. So his gift for me was a 3D printed model of my knee, and that was wonderful, to have a 3D printed model of how my knee joint looked was something great, out of this world, to actually see in size and shape, volume, how it looked was wonderful for me. So that kind of was like the head start for me to get into medical 3D printing. That concept of going from a CT image to a 3D printed model, that can precisely reflect on a patient's anatomy. That was the start, and that was when I got really interested on how this could be helpful, for different purposes. So that was the beginning of it. After that, I did a lot of research. I worked with a few people, and that led me to where I am now. To providing with patient-specific solutions using additive manufacturing.
Fantastic. That was really a good story in the natural phase in terms of for somebody who is really experiencing their own anatomy and then seeing that how it can actually help the others to for the better diagnosis and also getting the best solution actually for the patient.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's important that how we can be and how we can impart the right.
Exactly. Yes. No. So what I was doing, when I was doing research, it was a lot of 3D kinematics analysis, things like that. When I came back from to Ecuador, I couldn't do the same things that I was doing in the United States because obviously, even at the research center that I work with, there were just a few ones in the United States that were able to do what we were doing. So I was, looking for applications of where to put all my knowledge into something useful that I can deliver to people in Ecuador. So, I had experience in everything related to medical imaging analysis. I had a minor in mechanical engineering design, and I had experience with, what it was going from a CT scan to a 3D printed model. So that's what kind of pushed me into thinking, okay, I have all this knowledge. How can we provide solutions for, people, for surgeons specifically, and for patients? So yeah, that was when I realized that I could put all that knowledge into something that could be very useful, for people in the field. And I started working with that. I started offering, talking to surgeons, telling them, about all the benefits. It was at the beginning something new here in Ecuador. It might not be something new in the whole world, but here in Ecuador, it was still something that has to be, explained. Surgeons still, don't fully understand all the benefits of it. But we have been, developing that field in this year a lot. So right now, all the surgeons that I work with, they're really aware of what all the possibilities are, and there's, they're like still, thinking about what other applications we can give to this type of technology. So every time, I have more and more surgeons that are joining us, and they're coming with new ideas. They're coming with new applications of how we can use this technology to help them, improve their surgical times, improve their outcomes, and at the end, this translates into benefit to the patient. So that's why we work in this type of area, because we want to provide a better quality of life to the patients that we work with.
Okay, so broadly, I would like to now know from you on your on the topic and your specialization that you have been accorded with this award, so that the audience will also get to know in detail
Okay.
of good work that you've been doing here.
Okay. So you want me to discuss about the periacetabular osteotomy?
Yeah,
Yes.
the PAO, the bilateral PAO
Yeah.
for the hip surgery. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, the periacetabular osteotomy, described as PAO. It's a surgery that I'm not gonna say it's new, but it's still debatable. It was started by a Swiss surgeon. Last name was Gans, and a lot of people know this type of procedure as Gans surgery. And this is a surgery that it's meant to preserve the hip joint. In people with a hip dysplasia, with its deformity, congenital deformity of the hip, there is a developmental abnormality in the acetabular capsule, in which you have the acetabular capsule and you have the femoral head. But because of the dysplasia, the acetabular capsule is not able to provide the proper coverage of the femoral head. So you have a hip dysplasia there, in which the femoral head is not following proper kinematics. And that, if it's not treated in the future, it leads to uh, hip replacement in a lot of the cases. So with this type of procedure, what the surgeons are trying to do is they're trying to provide the patients with a better quality of life, prevent them from going to the hip replacement at young age, because since this is a developmental abnormality, it's going to happen in young patients mostly. So in this type of surgery, what they do is they perform some osteotomies around acetabulum. So then they can manipulate that acetabulum and rotate it and reposition it, so they can provide a better coverage of the femoral head. So now this is a very difficult procedure. It's done using an image intensifier, because the incision it's very small. They work in this real small area, and they have to go making the osteotomies around the acetabulum, and it's really difficult because they cannot see much. They're guided using the image intensifier, which we know the more images we take, it just means more radiation. You know and and that's the difficult part of it. You're going into a surgery in which you cannot see much. It's very difficult to perform, and you want to have a best, the best possible outcome out of it. So what we're doing right now is we're going from the CT image. We're segmenting that image, obtaining a 3D model that we can manipulate. We can look in the computer and performing the steps of simulations we can perform the osteotomies in the computer. We can rotate the fragment and see how many degrees of rotation, how much displacement that this fragment is going to have. So then we have a proper coverage of the femoral head. And we base all of our movements and repetition on the fragment on the literature, and also on the surgeon's expertise. So after we do this, we follow with additive manufacturing. We follow with 3D printing. So we print this model with all the osteotomies, so we can provide that to the surgeon, and he can see with a model on real scale, real volume, what the movements are going to be, where he has to place the osteotomies. In these cases where you have a very reduced space to work and you have reduced visibility, it's really important for the surgeon to have the best possible idea of what the anatomy of the patient is, because every hip is different. And since he's going to do the osteotomies with a very reduced visibility, for him to have the best possible conceptualization of what the volume and shape of that hip bone, it's crucial for him. And the surgeon that I work with mainly here, he actually takes the 3D printed model that I give him, and he goes and he really studies the model. He really looks at it from different angles to see how the osteotomies are going to be, how far the cuts are going to be from the certain anatomical landmarks. So that gives him the best possible idea of how the osteotomy is going to go. And additionally to that, we also design instruments that will help them place the osteotomies more accurately in the bone. And in this case, also, we have a surgical guide that also allows him to reposition that fragment into a place right how we predicted in the computer. So this helps us, reduce the amount of times we use the image intensifier in the operating room, and it also helps increase the precision of the surgical procedure. And then besides that, all the benefits that the patient has: reduced operating times, increased precision in the procedure, and the confidence that it gives to the surgeon when he's going to the surgery, because he's already rehearsed in the model. He knows what needs to be done. He knows what he's going against. And that's basically what everything that we do for this case. Last week, we had a case of a bilateral. This type of procedure, it's usually performed in one hip. I wouldn't say it's rare, but the times you do a bilateral one, it's not as many, mainly because it's a very painful surgery for the patient to go through, and sometimes if it takes longer, it can translate into a longer recovery for the patient and things like that. So with the help of 3D imaging, simulation, and 3D printing, we were able to provide the surgeon with a lot of information regarding the case. And this surgical procedure went wonderfully under 4 hours, which I think is a pretty good time for doing both hips. And results were wonderful. He didn't have to take as much time with taking images in the image intensifier. And also with the help of the surgical guys, he was able to manipulate the fragment and position it in a place where we actually planned where it was going to go, where it was going to provide the best coverage for that patient's femoral head. So I think it was a wonderful help for that type of case. The combination of all those technologies provided a more robust preoperative planning that translated into better results at the time of the surgery.
Amazing, Philip. I mean, it's really good to know that the kind of in-depth knowledge as a medical engineer that you also have, exploring the opportunity with the technology, because that's the key. And also, let me ask you, do you also see that the biomedical engineers in our country, now we've started this initiative wherein there are also training happening for biomedical engineers for them to know how 3D printing technology can help. We are also going to an extent of tissue engineering going forward. So it's hard tissue and then even soft tissue. So do you think that kind of a career scope is also being set in your country when in terms of creating human resource in that area? Because I'm sure as an organization you will also be looking at growing with time, and
Exactly.
so it's important that you also give back in terms of your learnings and your knowledge, so that you can also get a resource pool to help you also set up an organization of that scale and size.
Exactly. Like I said, it's a very new field here. I might be one of the few people that actually do this at the level at which I do. I handle orthopedic surgery, maxillofacial surgery, and some sort of also cases of cardiothoracic. But there's a need, for additive manufacturing in a lot of fields, like cancer, liver cancer, and all sorts of other medical fields in which additive manufacturing comes into play. But yeah, there is a need for also people with the knowledge to be able to help in these cases. And right now, there are not many people who can do this. But I think the fact that I'm doing this constantly and I'm sharing this also on my social media is also working as a motivation for the coming generations of biomedical engineers, which in the past they were all just used to going into probably cell engineering fields in stuff related to that. But right now, the fact that I'm showing this to them, it's also opening their eyes into the fact that there's a whole new world that could be explored for engineers, in which we could come into play and we can help health providers to provide a better care. You know. So I think in the future years, there's going to be a surge of people who will want to step into this field. Right now, there is very few, uh, at least in Ecuador, who do this. And with the amount of knowledge that you could look at them and be like, I can trust these people to go for this, because there's a lot of people who can do 3D printing, right? And you can also have a lot of people who maybe can go from a CT scan to a 3D printable model. You might find that here in Ecuador too. There's few people that actually know what all the surgical techniques are, and I think that's a very key process in this, because at least for the work that I do, I need to be in sync with the surgeon. I need to know exactly how he's going to proceed, how the surgical process is going to go, so then I can design patient specific instruments. I can provide him with the best solutions that I can. So I think in the future, this is going to work as a motivation and inspiration for the coming generations. And I really hope to, because right now, as I am setting my startup here, I'm going to need help in the future to be able to expand this and to provide innovation for not just orthopedic surgery and maxillofacial surgery, but for other fields. And it doesn't have to be only, surgical specialties. It can be any other medical specialty that needs additive manufacturing. And I've had really interesting projects coming from surgeons of other specialties that I'm really hoping uh, to actually go with those in the next year. And I think it's really interesting. Once you start showing people what can be done, all the applications start coming. They start, understanding how all this process work, what all the possibilities uh, are in this kind of field, and they are also thinking on applications, and that's really important for that. It's working together. On my part, I'm showing them what can be done, all the possibilities, all the work that we've been doing, and they're also coming with new application solutions for the future.
Right. No, that's the idea. When you teach, you also get to learn. There are a lot of because it's
Exactly.
all yes, yeah. And
That's
I
true.
think we are catching up with you very young as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you have a great future to go, Philip. And you're very focused and very passionate. I can see that when you were actually sharing your insights, and I'm sure there's a long way to go. And in fact, I see as an organization, 3D Graphy is now going global, and we can work together in this space, Philip, where we could be of your help, and we can see how we can see that how the end respondents can get the best solution, maybe through your service, or it could also be learning. You can actually look at we can look at training modules created for various institutions to get that benefit. And I see that as a
Yes.
format going forward. We will also be conducting workshops, Philip, on an ongoing basis. We are just doing one for HA coatings with the Orthopedic Surgeons Association of India, where we are looking at orthopedic surgeons coming and learning and understanding how this could be of good help in terms of material science. Then we will actually have another session for dental, Likewise, we'll be covering all the aspects, even for medical device. And I would probably also invite you then, and we'll be in touch. And once again, congratulations, Philip, for your great work. And it's always good to connect with aspirants and passionate respondents who are doing some great work, creating innovation, helping the human mankind. See, because at the end of the day, we if you're useful for mankind, I think our job is done. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of satisfaction that you get from what you do. And
Exactly. That's why we go and we work every day. Our
yes,
final goal is to provide a better quality of life for our patients.
life
And that's
exactly.
always going to be our motivation to go forward with everything.
So congratulations, Philip, and have a great day and a year which is just passing by. I think we have 2021 coming by. I'm sure we all have been caught up with this pandemic, but we have still managed to survive in its
No,
own.
actually, in this pandemic, it's where we kind of developed more here. The organization that I'm setting developed more during the pandemic, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's because during the pandemic, the surgeons that were very difficult to reach out and probably had very few time to actually sit and listen to your ideas.
Yes,
During the pandemic, they were not as busy. So they
yeah,
were in their houses, they were quarantined. So they had more time. So that was the perfect time for me to connect with them and tell them, look, there's this technology and we can use this for this. And they actually had time to listen to me.
yes,
So I feel like this pandemic in some sort of helping to
yes,
reach to more people. And also, this kind of thing, this kind of spaces where we can interact with other people, share
yes.
your work, share your knowledge were really important for that. It
Yeah,
helps us
very, very true.
connect and develop new things.
Very true, Philip. You're very right. In fact, trust me, the last 7 months we've actually been engaging in training and education. Education and training was the right
Definitely.
time for a lot of them, and I think we've been able to impart that. And now I think it was so, and we've actually got a complete new platform to then explore going forward. I think in going in near, I mean, future is going to be hybrid, Philip. We will have physical events at the same time. We'll also have events like these where people
Yes,
can still connect, share ideas, thoughts. And we've seen that in the
definitely.
last 7, 8 months, Philip, there was also online contracts signed on this platform. So, which is encouraging. So, so that's the beauty of
Yes.
platforms like these. So, thank you so much, Philip, for your time and have a wonderful day. And once again, congratulations for your effort. And I'm sure we'll be in touch and we'll keep learning and also share the insights of what can come through to see that how people, surgeons, researchers can all benefit from this. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Philip. Take care.
Thank you too, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.